But I cannot support the persecution of those charged under an Espionage Act when they have committed no espionage. And this is a duty that I believe we all owe to those yet to come.
Well, joining me live in the studio is Tanya O'Carroll, who's an advisor on technology and human rights with Amnesty International, one of the groups campaigning for Edward Snowden. Tanya, welcome to the programme. Wherever you stand on this, isn't it a bit hopeful to expect that President Obama will actually pardon Edward Snowden?
Well, we figure, and I think Amnesty International have been very clear that the charges that Edward Snowden faces are illegitimate, and we've actually been calling for those charges to be dropped ever since he made the disclosures. But for obvious reasons, particularly given that the stance of the US is so adamant in vilifying and criminalising his actions, partly to make an example of him and discourage future whistleblowers, that that's not going to happen. But if there is a chance for freedom for Edward Snowden, if there is a chance for for those charges, those espionage charges, to be dropped, it's now. And we see that President Obama, he's leaving office. The presidential election will be decided before January the 20th, when he has up until January the 20th to make that decision.
Right. You say that the charges are illegitimate, but he's been charged with serious crimes, isn't he? And shouldn't he just have his day in court, as it were? And there, maybe he can cut a deal or whatever, but he needs to see through the process of justice, no?
So we actually consider that there should be no charges in the first place, because it's so clear that Edward Snowden is a textbook case of a whistleblower, and everything that he revealed back in 2013 has been so crucial and important for understanding how bloated the mass surveillance programs had become, how far they'd gone beyond the remit of the law, and that, in that sense, he's been a defender of human rights, and he's been a whistleblower, and that should be recognised, that his actions have been purely in the public interest. If his case comes to court, we believe that he should have a public interest defence. Unfortunately, the Espionage Act itself, which is a World War I piece of legislation, fully ill-equipped for the circumstances of his case. They effectively say that he's been selling secrets to enemies of the USA, which is absolutely not the same thing as disclosures in the public interest. He will not be able to have a public interest defence in court, and that's why we're so clear that this is really the only option and the only hope for him to have freedom and for him to go home again.
Right. He himself must be yearning to go home. What do you know of his state of mind?
I think Ed Snowden is a pretty remarkable and courageous individual, and he has probably, I imagine, been through many highs and lows over the last few years. He's far from home. He's in a country that was never a country that he intended to end up in. It was really by a matter of circumstances that he found himself in Russia, not speaking the language, far from his partner, far from his family. It has been incredibly difficult, and I know that he wants to go home. But at the same time, he's made the best of it. And I think, the role he's played in the last few years, participating in the public debate that he triggered through a Skype window, he's continuing. And I think it's very, very inspiring. And we see him really as a human rights hero.
All right, well, we'll see how it all unfolds. Tanya O'Carroll, appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The head of the European Commission says the EU's future is not compromised because of Brexit. In his annual State of the Union speech to the European Parliament, Jean-Claude Juncker demanded...
All right.